over to the beat. Everybody to the beat. Everybody to the beat. Everybody.
Yo, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Yo, when did you get did you do anything else? Like, did you say, like, did you break dance or did you rhyme? Like, when did you get DJ bug? Like, what really made you want to be a DJ? Like, who influenced you?
Who influenced me as DJing? I think it's a bunch of people. I think it's, so I have to admit, because in the 90s, when it come to, okay, I'm gonna have to start from the very top. So I had an older cousin, my cousin Wayne. He was about 5-6 years older than me, and back then he was the guy who like had money. I was young and he had money. See, he was the guy who was just like buying records, buying CDs and whatnot, and he put me on. And he was the guy that you go to his house, you go to his bedroom, and he would have Ice-T posters on the wall and like Ice Cube posters on the wall, which was like mind-blowing to my mind at that time. And seeing Dr. Dre Chronic poster on the wall.
Yeah.
And that was like my entry. And I was just like, yo, man. And then he would just show me stuff. And quickly you start to understand a little bit, obviously, what's going on and like DJing and such. I think it was the mixtapes and such. When it comes to like 96, 97, mixtapes were popping big. And it was definitely people like DJ Clue, Tony Touch, the whole heap. And I remember it must have been 1998, I bought my first set of turntables, like decks.
Mm-hmm.
And that was that. And I just started buying records. And I remember actually before I bought my turntables, actually, I did have some records, but I had to like use my dad's turntable to play the tunes on. It was mad times. And I knew that back then. I was like, I want turntables. I want to DJ. I want to do this kind of thing. And even my young self, though, I was that guy, though, I would DJ and stuff, but I also, now and again, I was writing rhymes in that as well. I was writing rhymes and, just trying to understand it a lot. So I was definitely that guy who was reading all the details about who produced it, what samples were used. The thing is, well, I had my dad around as well, so he was very knowledgeable on music as well.
Yeah.
So he would always put me onto things to be like, I know that tune. He'd be like, that sampled this. And you have to remember, these are the times where internet wasn't a thing. So I couldn't even try to figure out or Google it and find out what track he was talking about. I just had to kind of use my mind. But sometimes he'll be like, no, I actually do have that. And he'll just pull out like the OJ's record or something. I'm like, okay, you do have the tune. And he could like show me and be like, yeah, that's that sample. And I'll be like, wow, okay.
Wow. And that's cool. Your dad, showed you that,
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So my dad was always like, he appreciated hip hop and such in that way, actually. And it's quite funny. And it's quite funny. With the early days, he also said to me, you know what's going to happen? A lot of rappers and that, they're going to end up doing a lot more collaborations with soul singers and R&B artists and such. Because some of the rap I was listening to at the time, obviously it was a lot just, there was no soulful hooks most of the time. It was just like, people were just rapping. So... Yeah. And then obviously later on it became a thing, didn't it? And when you talk about the entries of artists of like Mary J. Blige and, I'm talking about big tunes like when Method Man and Mary J. Blige did that collaboration, All I Need, big tunes like that when they occurred, and then obviously it became like a trend kind of thing. My dad was like, see, I told you that was going to happen. It's, but yeah, I've got loads of like, it's really weird because I was thinking about this the other day of random past memories of growing up. When I was still living with my dad at the time at my parents' house, and him being around and him just listening to music, and also the days of, because I had younger brothers as well, so I had to sometimes control the volume and mute at words sometimes because some records are too hard.
Yeah.
I remember trying to play Onyx in the house. It was just too hard. It was too hard at the time. But I remember, obviously, things like Snoop and stuff got played a lot because, from my dad's vision, he was just saying that this is a funk and soul record. It's a funk and soul record. And I was like, yeah, it is. The thing is, I was young at the time, so sometimes, as being young, you can be quite, you can be ignorant as well. So I'll be like, nah, this is not a funk and soul record. This is Snoop kind of thing. And obviously, like, looking back now, I obviously know the album like back to front, and you just know all the samples on the album. You're just thinking that album is a goldmine of samples. It's one of those albums. It's one of those albums that, if sampling wasn't a thing, didn't exist, that album may never existed in a weird way. And that probably applies to a lot of albums, a lot of early stuff from De La Soul, Tribe, and all that as well. It's just, if sampling art wasn't there, who knows? A lot of those tracks probably wouldn't exist.